given, and and I don't know exactly how your meetings go. I'm just going to go with the flow, and I don't know if it's an exchange or something like that, but we'll, just kind of dialogue and do it as you usually do it. I was told that your theme for this month is creativity and resourcefulness. And I think as a physician and as a mom, which I'm both, we often have to use skills that allow us to pull resources from nothing just to make it work. And I had thoughts about what exactly to say today. And so my thoughts were these. The work that I do, we hear problems all day. That's what we're designed to do. Hear your problem, figure out a solution to it. Sometimes the solution doesn't exist at the moment. Sometimes it requires waiting a little bit. There's a scripture that says, wait on the Lord. And that's applicable to many situations. But, life throws each of us many problems. And I don't think there's a human on this earth who is going to transition and not encounter something before the end comes. And I think that one of the great skills of life is knowing how to manage problems when they come up. I mean, they come up for everybody, and having the tools to get through it. So in terms of resourcefulness, I thought of 4 things that in reviewing my life and hearing what people say when they bring their problems, these 4 things I think are key. So I think 1, in terms of resourcefulness, just being able to draw what you need from life to solve your problem. The first thing I think is having a resource of people. Regardless of governments and systems and whatever exists, the ultimate decisions always come down to a person. A person can always make or break a situation. Even if you rely on a person for just a word of encouragement or to open a door, having a resource of people when you need it. So I always say, in order to have a friend, you got to first be a friend.
All right.
If you want that friend to be a resource to you, you have to first have been a resource, to him or her or to someone. And even in a situation like this, if I'm asked to, assist, in a support group such as this, I mean, we're all people, we're all in it together, and, we're each other's resource. So I think the first and most important resource is the one you have with people. The second, I think, is time. You can have a lot of stuff, but if you don't have or can't manage the time, and especially as a physician, we're all over the place. I mean, already today, starting from about 5 this morning, I had to pack lunches, finish a project, get them off to school. Andrea and I spoke about who was going to come today, who's bringing the supplies. Did you get them? So had to dash and get supplies. Went to my daughter's school for an awards banquet. Rounded with the residents on the phone as I was driving over. And then I think we just texted each other. So it's a matter of just making sure.
Today?
That's just so far today. So it's managing that time and never letting an opportunity slip by. And I always believe life has already met your need for you, whatever your need is. You have to just manage it, manage what life gives you as a gift. So time management and having that resource is very important.
I just want to insert something in there, and I never forgot this. I heard a story about Anita Baker, the singer, jazz singer, R&B. Well, she, from what I was told, she is used to staying at a certain hotel because all that traveling, say, I was in the military, so I know what it's like to travel around to all these different duty stations. Well, in her traveling around, somehow something happened. They booked her somewhere, And when she went into the room of the hotel, she flipped out. Because the reason why they said she flipped out is because, you know, when you're constantly moving like that, you're in a routine, and she got thrown off. In other words, it's like if you are used to your home, and then all of a sudden you blacked out and somebody left you at the door, you open up the door, you're like, this ain't where I live, you know? So I think I identified with that as far as like managing things or time managing, because if you get thrown off, in other words, it's like throwing a wrench in the wheel. You know, when you throw a wrench in the fan or something like that, it throws it kind of stops it. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? And as far as Anita Baker, it was a thing that she's used to staying at a certain hotel because they have it not synchronized, but they have it. It's a military term that we use too. It's where everything is the same. It's
standardized?
Standardized, right. Because I worked in a hospital setting, and a lot of the military hospitals were set up pretty much the same. You're going on the first floor is admin, second floor is surgery, the bottom floor is the morgue. You know, so when you change like we do, like every 3 to 6 months or a year, you go to a new place, you don't have long to get reconstructed. And I don't know, for some reason I felt like I wanted to share that, because I know that even with me being a caregiver with Larry, there are certain things I have to do. And, you know, if I don't do those things in the morning, you know, like get him cleaned up, I get cleaned up, brush his teeth, brush my teeth, get the food ready. If somebody tells me they need a ride to the bus stop, I'm going to have to make sure I either do it at a certain time or whatever. You understand? So anyway, didn't mean to take up too much time, but I wanted to share that when you talk about time management, that's a key point for me.
Yeah.
Because with time management comes prioritizing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
See, you can't have time management unless you're going to prioritize. And that just means ordering things in the way they need to be taken care of. Okay? Some of us don't know what's important and what's not important. We just don't. Everything goes into one pot. You see what I'm trying to say? And whatever we pull out, that's what we do. And some may have significance, some may not. But it starts with prioritizing. Looking at what are some of the things that are valuable, vital, or necessary that have to be done. Then you go down from there. You see what I'm saying? And until that gets done, you're not going to have time management. Because you're just in a chaotic kind of situation.
And you know, to add to that too, I think the second part is having the discipline to execute what you prioritize.
Exactly.
You know, to just, you know, be, you know, goal oriented even in your day. To say, okay, today I must finish, you know, fill in the blank before this day is over. And again, in prioritizing it, some things may be forced to wait until another day, but at least you're managing the resource of time that you have.
And you know, and it's interesting because that is one of my weakest areas, you know, discipline. Because I'm in a doctoral program now, and I'm looking at, okay, the assignment's given out on Monday, it's not due till Sunday. And I'll try to, I procrastinate. And I'll say, okay, by Thursday, I'll just crash right into it. And then Thursday, I got other things that came up that I didn't expect to come up. You know what I'm saying? So they give it to you the way it needs to be done. It's just you have to be disciplined enough to follow the pattern and get it done. You know?
You know, this thing about time management must be a foundational pivoting point or something, because, you know, for a while, when Larry first got out of the hospital, we stayed with a friend. His name was John Metz. And John was a person that was a stickler for neatness. And I thought that I was kind of structured and disciplined being in the military, but I learned a lot from John. And one of the things I learned from John is, like, if he used his pen and he got the pen out of that pen jar, when he finished, he just put it back. But sometimes I've had a habit, if I had the pen, I'll just leave it there. Then I'll need a pen, I get another one, then I got 2 pens. And then a week later, the pens are still there on the table. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but he had such a discipline. And from staying with him for those few years, it got to a point where his habits got off on me. You see what I'm saying? So, in essence, you know, and this is not talking about anybody, but we all have probably been somewhere, or maybe even we might have a habit of being disorderly. I mean, we all have a mess somewhere. We all got a junk drawer somewhere, but if you ever went somewhere and the kitchen is just in an array, dishes are everywhere, this or that, it's because when we used it, we decided just to put it there, and then, you know, we put another one there, and next thing you know, we got a mess, you know, and then people come over and say, oh, well, I don't want to eat here, you know, and I'm saying that not to, you know, throw off on anybody, but I'm saying I think that this is a key point that a lot of times we want to bypass it quick, but I think this is a pivoting or foundational point in all of our lives in a lot of different areas, whether it be relationship, health-wise, or whatever, is that discipline, having that discipline to deal with something and stick with it long enough, like whatever our weaknesses are, you know, to stick with it long enough until it becomes not so much a weakness anymore, and other people can learn from it.
Absolutely. Some things like that, you know, ultimately conserve time. I mean, by the time, you know, you've accumulated, your example, pins that are now out of place, now you got to take time at some point to put them back in place. You know, it's a matter of just kind of, you know, thinking through and managing even those little increments of time, you know, efficiently. The other thing I was going to say, of course, when you think about resources, think about money. Money as a resource. And, you know, the only thing I really wanted to say that, you know, isn't what is expected to say. I mean, we know we live in a capitalist society and we need money for things. But again, I go back to those two resources mentioned before. There are a lot of things you can do without a dime. If you got the right resources of friends and the right resources of time. Yeah, the buck really does not control everything. And I think, you know, to have a mindset, a creative mindset, since this is creativity and resourcefulness, to think outside of the box and never let, you know, certain things limit your movement. To think that, you know, you can't take the next step until I get the right amount of money or until something else. No, there are always other resources. And, you know, I go back to the point that, you know, there's, you know, stories in the Bible about God's provision, and the answer, the resource is always there. It's always there, and if that's a belief you really carry in your heart, that you're never without the answer, you're never without the solution. Ram in the bush.
You
It's
know,
always there.
And that song, Oz never gave anything to the Tin Man that the Tin Man didn't already have.
There you go.
We are already equipped with the things we need to do what we need to do. Now it's up to you to sit still long enough and to become internal. What's going on inside of me that I need to be addressing? What should I be addressing? See, you don't have to, see, some of the most creative people didn't go to college. Okay? And history proves that. History has proven that, you know. Now you got a talent, you want to get into a certain industry, there may be requirements to do that. But you don't have to go to college to be talented. Brilliant. Resourceful. You see. I'm looking at Kai down there now, making Mardi Gras masks, you know? I mean, next year he's going to have 100 of those at Mardi Gras, doing what he do. You know, this man's writing a book here, you know what I'm saying? And this is one thing I like about Common Ground. The talent that comes through here just needs to be redirected. These just need to be put right back on track. Because nobody here is inadequate in anything they want to do. You just have to make up your mind and say, you know, this is where I'm going to go, and this is what I want to do. People always say it all the time. I've always wanted to be this. Well, be it. And what does that Nike thing say? Just do it. You know? But you got to stand in the mirror and look at yourself long enough and say, you know what? It's time to get this going. You've got to look at yourself. If you're not looking at yourself, you're not going to identify yourself, and you're not going to identify your needs. But you've got to take a look at yourself in anything you want to do. Even if it's for a job interview today. Stand in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm going to get that job because I like you. I'm looking at you. I like you. The person in the mirror. And we're going to get that job today. But those are the affirmations and the things you have to say to yourself in order to be reassured. That self-esteem got to go somehow, and it starts with you. Not school, not your preacher, not your mama. The self-esteem is gonna have to come from you. They can motivate you, but you're gonna have to be the engine in that whole process.
I just want to share something at this moment. It's a little idea, and I'm just excited about it. Something simple. And you know, in terms of recycling, take care of the earth, they're saying to us in terms of paper and plastic, what we should do, and all the problems with it. But this is my latest new idea. I save and I use some of everything. But anyway, this is a nice tissue box. We all see this is a tissue box. And in my house, man, you talk about plastic bags. So when my husband goes to the store, he's saying, come on, you got to use reusable bags. No, you're going to use plastic bags. So he's thinking about, I don't want to take out every week. So this is my new idea. You take the plastic bag, okay? Start down at the bottom. Fold that thing up real well, okay? And then you just poke them in this tissue box. Poke it up full, and then you just give it to whomever, and they put it in their house. So when they need a plastic bag, instead of having plastic bags everywhere in the corner, up behind the washroom door, I can't get in there because with plastic bags up there. You put them in the tissue box. You have it for yourself. You have it for a group. You have it, just give them a present, and they just pull the plastic bags out as they need them. In other words, don't just use a plastic bag one time because they're a big problem. Just keep reusing them, okay? And this is how you store them.
And I wouldn't blow my nose.
Critical reflection.
But you know, that's a good idea, Mama Beth. I never would have thought about that.
That's a good idea.
Save my plastic bag and put them all in one bag and tie them up. I never would have thought about that.
And you said something to me about creativity a couple of weeks ago. James, I want to start my own business.
Yes.
You said that to me. You told me what kind of business it was, and you told me what you wanted to do. You know. Now the only thing that's stopping you from doing that is what? You. Because if that's what you want to do, and it's available, I mean that's a very interesting business to get into, and an easy business to get into. All you got to do is start developing clients. It starts with one person, you know, as a referral, and then goes to the next. You know what I'm saying? But your creativity is just right now burning a hole inside of you because you know what you want to do. It's just you're not initiating it. You know? So sometimes we lay down and we say, why am I depressed? Why am I frustrated? Because we got stuff going on inside of us that we're not dealing with. We're not touching base with. So initiate some of that stuff.
And you know, one thing that may be, you know, the biggest barrier I think sometimes to taking that first step is fearing failure and keeping your eye focused on the things that could go wrong in a situation. And I try to always kind of let one of two things will guide you at every minute of every day, faith or fear. And which one are you going to cultivate? If you keep kind of focused on everything that could go wrong and what you don't have and who said what, and that one person out of 2 million who had something negative to say about your idea or your plan or your talent, if you focus on that and it gets cultivated, who would be brave enough to make a move? But if you know, have the faith and really want something bad enough to take the risk on yourself, and I always say that your biggest advocate has to be you. You gotta sell it. You gotta sell you and convince somebody else that you are worth it. We do it every day. And, you know, so getting to this point, you know, 20 years ago, you know, I literally had somebody who gave me an application back between his fingers as if, like, I guess I was diseased. And he said, you know, good luck to you in your life or whatever. Now, in a situation like that, you know, you could be so devastated that you just kind of give up altogether and just say, well, you know, I guess that wasn't for me. And for a quick minute, I think I was there. But then something was enough confidence in me that I said, okay, I don't care what it takes, I'm doing it again. And I'm going to keep doing it until somebody opens the door. And, you know, I tell my 9-year-old that she wanted to be a safety patrol. She applied last year and she didn't get it. And so then it came around again the second time. she, was a little hesitant, and she didn't want to be disappointed again. And I said, but do you really want to be a safety patrol? Because the only way you're ever going to be is you're going to have to apply again. If you stand back and not do it, you're guaranteed not to be a safety patrol. So I said, you know what, let's just do this as a life's lesson. If you really want it bad enough, I want you to reapply. And we don't even care what the outcome is. We're going to celebrate just the fact that you reapplied and let that be victory enough. So sure enough, she went ahead, she reapplied and didn't get it again. But the point of it was, I think she even learned the lesson. If you had another try at it, I want you to apply every year until somebody says you are a safety patrol. And that's that resource of self-confidence, persistence, perseverance, discipline. You got to take through everything, because I can assure you the people that I see in the highest places aren't the most talented. It's not the talent, it's the persistence. They wanted it bad enough. And so I'm sure you know a lot of people who have talent beyond anything you see on television or read in a magazine or whatever, but you got to have that persistence through every disappointment to keep going. And then the last thing I'll say about resourcefulness is, of course, having that resource of God's wisdom to draw from. And, whoever you call your God, if it's Jesus Christ, if it's Allah, whomever, having that resource of encouragement, inspiration to get you through the tough times. Because, even, for me, even Jesus himself, went through agony. And had to draw from, something higher than himself. And so if Jesus had to, what less would be expected of us? But, all of those things, the managing well the resources of people, time, money, God, I think is, the formula to make anything happen.
And think about what she just said, the spiritual piece. You want some call it religion, some call it spiritual, whatever you choose. But that all comes from inside. That's what your experiences and all the things you visualized and you've gotten involved in. All that stuff makes you who you are today. And all that has to come together to say something. There should be something that screams out of you. This is who I am, and this is why I am who I am. And then if there's not love attached to that, if there's not understanding attached to that, if there's not the basic things attached to that. It's like, you got this atom and you got all these little things coming off of it. You need all these little pieces, to come together to have a complete you. But the hardest part is identifying who the complete you is. We do so much trying to identify other people and their weaknesses and things like that we don't even look at our own weaknesses and strengths,
Because sometimes it's easier to look at other people's flaws than it is.
Well, easy doesn't always get you where you need to be either. You need to really invest some time. And you go to church that says all work and no what? Faith. Faith is all about work, what I'm trying to say? Having a strong will to do something. I'm not getting through this PhD program just because I want to get through it. And trust me, I sat back, and JB and all know, last week I agonized. Because the question they asked me was not a question that made sense to me. And so I had to go back to the professor, and he had to say, oh, it doesn't make sense, does it? But I agonized until I asked the professor. I wasn't going to start writing a paper about something I didn't understand and get a bad grade. I went and asked the professor, and he corrected himself, which made everything a little easier for me. See what I'm trying to say? There are going to be moments when you're going to, like she said, get no. But as I told you when you first walked in this door, when you were born into this world, God stamped you with a big yes. You are mine. Yes, you are good. Yes, you are this. Yes. Man's no should not be able to deter you to the point where you just give up totally. That's man's no. That's going to supersede God's yes?
Okay, come on.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No, there was no means.
And then what I've spoken around here? God loves me so much, it would be ludicrous not for me to love myself.
That's right.
So these are the things you need to do. You need to affirm. This is the amount of creativity. Think, I call it critical reflection. We do that in college. Think deeper than what you see on the surface. Go deeper and say, there's got to be something else underlying, undergirding this whole situation. If I'm not moving, why? If I'm not getting this, why? If this door isn't open, why? Go deeper than what you see on the surface. And I guarantee you the answer you come up with will be that solution to you getting it the next time.
I actually wanted to share this daily encouragement from Living Buddhism, and it's very relevant to what we're talking about. We mustn't be afraid of anything. It is important to remain firm in our convictions. There is a great deal of scheming and duplicity in the world. It is foolish to allow ourselves to be swayed by such things. It only leads to unhappiness. The mystic law and Nietzschean are absolutely free of any falsehood. Therefore, to dedicate our lives to Kosen Rufu, which means the great spread of peace, is to lead the wisest possible existence. So, what I got out of this is, we weren't born with fear at all. And I told fear to get out my car, girl. You ain't putting no gas in my car, you eating up all my food.
Oh, no.
You talking yak. And I had to really ask myself, what has fear done for me? What has it done? It's just like a person, you have that friend or you have that someone in your life who you just like, why are you in my life? Like, why are you here? Like, I must have been lonely or something, And I think it's beautiful when you are able to realize that moment, like, okay, you know what? It's time to change. And actually seeing the change and having a spirit of gratitude. I think the more we're grateful, the fear will eventually diminish itself. And again, it's all about maintaining, the time that we spend, because fear wastes a lot of time. Like, I can only imagine where I would have been. I'm grateful where I am now, but where I could have been, if I didn't allow fear to get in the way when it came to love, when it came to career, when it came to all aspects. So, let's not allow fear to eat up our food and not put gas in our car, because we try to get somewhere. I don't know what y'all drive, but I got this Jaguar convertible.
All right. I'll talk.
Right. Hey, you going there too?
Yeah. I got the Mercedes.
Okay, come on. I'm gonna meet you.
That's what's up.
My thoughts and my Thanksgiving is for common ground, because I have always felt that when we come in here, that we are empowered with so much in terms of who we are, and mainly, and number one, getting to know ourselves, and then having the wisdom and knowledge and understanding and applying it to our lives. And there again, to be, we can look in our past, and sometimes we can find out where that fear has come from that's in our lives right today. And I feel that fear is something that can put us in prison. And then if we don't know what to do and how to face it, we'll stay in there. And somebody already said a lifetime. And we know that here, we are planning and we are hoping to multiply. So we can have common ground in at least 3 other places this year. We'll keep saying it. And then we also, because of all the discussions we've had from January to now, each one of us are wanting and planning to be in a place where we know that we are using our gifts and our talents. They're not everything. We're not going to put it before our Creator, but that we are going to use what we have, because sometimes, again, just like fear, we box up the talents, the gifts, the resources that we are. I feel that the one I believe in is the sword, and all of us are resources. And each day, we can be a resource in terms of what we do, in terms of what you said in the beginning. And lastly, I have a girlfriend, and her name is Pam, and I want everybody to please pray for Pam. Pam, she is gifted and talented beyond words. Yet, from her past, from today, whatever people say, and even her own mind, what she said about herself, fear has totally put her in jail. Now, the one thing, if she would write the books that she should write, or she should have written. She'll be a millionaire. We have some money, because I don't have some of that money too, and so I So we want to pray for her, because sometimes I feel like a river for her. I just have to over talk her. It's almost like, don't you say that again. And so when we know someone is in a place like that, we do need to pray. We need to continue to be patient, tolerant, and reach out and giving and caring. And I'm saying to all of us in here, some of us are sitting on some treasures. We got to spread them out, give them out, share them. You can't give without receive. You don't give to receive, but you can't give without receiving, okay? And we reap what we sow. So let's sow good fruit.
Yeah. You know, one of my greatest interviews I ever had, or sit-down conversation I ever had, was with Danny Glover.
Oh.
And I sat down with Danny Glover and I talked with him. You know, Danny Glover didn't become a movie star till he was 39 years old. He was 39. That's old for, you know, that industry. You know what I'm trying to say? But he came out, you know, and he said, you know, he did a lot of other things before he got to where he really enjoyed what he wanted to do. You know what I'm trying to say? He worked jobs he never thought he wanted to work or would work. And so I say that to you, that these things that you're doing are building blocks to who you are. You know? And nobody has a time stamp on them saying, you had to do it by this time. There's no time stamp on anybody. You see what I'm saying? Because I get that all the time. Why are you getting a PhD now in your life? Well, that's something that came from within me. You know, you may not understand that, but that's one of my goals. That's one of my aspirations. Everybody has that. You have aspirations. But it goes back to that one word again, discipline. How disciplined are you to sit still long enough and get in touch with you? You know, one of my most, I would say this, one of my most innovative and creative people when it comes to resources is Fareed Covington. Fareed has been all over the United States. And I'm sure you would, we know he ain't no Rockefeller. Okay? But when he says he's going to do something, it doesn't come out of his mouth until he already had a plan in his head. So once he plans it in his head, then when you hear him talk about it, it's ready to go. There's not a place he has not said he wasn't going. Well, you know Fareed. When he says it, it's already processed and it's on its way. And that's what makes this man happy with life, because he produces what he wants to produce for himself. You know? And on top of that, helps other people at the same time. And you don't have to, like I said, be the Rockefellers or, you know, the Kennedys or anybody like that. You just have to be you and comfortable with you. Because see, progress can get stagnated by us looking at somebody else's progress and trying to measure ourselves according to what they did.
I always call it comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Oh,
come on.
Yeah, you gotta go back. What did they look like when they started?
Right. And Doctor, I'm sure you know this. You know, one of the things I say, when I see, especially people of our color, go to college and become doctors, I always know. See, what they teach you in school is middle-class life situations. You don't go there learning, you know, what's going on Bankhead Highway and all that. You're learning a middle-class existence. How to function in the middle-class environment. Some of us struggle with that. That's why we don't go any far. I struggled with it when I was doing clinical social work, because most of my clients were middle-class white people. I went to a middle-class white school, Ohio State University. So when I came out of school, I didn't know anything but what I knew academically. When I went into practice, I had to readjust my thinking and look at things from a whole different perspective. I could have been deterred, and I could have said, oh no, I'm going to stay right in this middle-class situation. I'm only going to work with this economic group, do that, boom, but I wouldn't have been happy. So in my mind, I had to sit back and be creative and say, okay, now how do I make this adjustment? This is where the majority of my work is. This is what I need to know. And so I had to step out of all that academic stuff and step down to some practical stuff. And sometimes we got to do that. Step out of what you're in and step back and look at what's going on. And see if there's a different route you could take or another turn you could make in order to get to where you're trying to get to. Because maybe the road you're traveling, there's just always a jam going on, a traffic jam.
And yesterday we were all encouraged, we were empowered, we were challenged to create our own happiness in terms of creativity. You know, sometimes we just sit back, and so our happiness is not there because we're not creating it.
Doctor seems like she has to leave.
And you know, my apologies are there. I gotta try to squeeze rounds in. Here we go, time. I enjoyed it. I wanna come back and just be here.
Well, you have a second home now, you know, and now you know we know how to get in touch with you and everything.
Alright.
We want to thank you for coming today.
Alright.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
It's good to see a sister on the move, okay? It really is. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
We appreciate you, be like me. I came in 2000,
You probably do one of the earliest film graduates too.
I agree. I never stopped coming. Thank you, Susan.